For the elderly and disabled in England is not safe enough. That's according to the Care Quality Commission, which assesses home and residential care, nursing care and services for the learning disabled. Their report is based on more than 33,000 inspections of more than 24,000 care homes, home care agencies and other services. While the majority of services are good, it found there was too much poor care. Some providers are failing to improve, and there is even some deterioration in good services. Of the nearly 11,000 residential care homes inspected, more than 2,600 were rated either inadequate or requiring improvement for safety, while 37% of the residential nursing homes visited by the C.Q.C were rated as unsafe. Across the entire adult social care sector, 23% of services were found to require improvement for safety, with 22% of services found to require leadership improvement. Well, we can speak now to Andrea Sutcliffe, Chief Inspector of Adult Social Care at the Care Quality Commission, which has published the report. Also with us, Eileen Chubb, a former carer who became a whistleblower and founded the organisation Compassion in Care. We're also joined by Jo Walton from Boston Spa. Her daughter is 38 and has a condition that means she needs 24-hour care. And we're hoping also to speak to Nigel Pearce, who works as a senior carer. We're hoping he can join us from our studio in Trent. Thank you all. Welcome. If I can come to you first of all, Andrea, the word that is repeatedly used is that the care being offered is not safe. Spell out exactly what that means, because it sounds very worrying if you've got someone being looked after.
It is indeed worrying. I mean, we shouldn't forget that the vast majority of services are safe and care staff are doing a great job looking after people. But where we have identified improvements are required, or even worse, where services are inadequate, we are seeing not enough staff available, those staff not properly trained and supported to deliver the care that people have every right to expect. And we're seeing things like people not getting the food that they need or being able to drink enough, which of course is so important for their health and well-being, or they're not getting their medication at the right time. We even went into a service recently where people were getting up in the middle of the night and being washed, dressed and put back to bed because that suited the organisation to do that, rather than obviously doing what was needed for the people who were living there.
So if you've got a loved one in one of these places where the care is not safe, you'd be right to think, actually, should they be there? I really don't, you know, if they're not safe, crikey,
I completely understand that, and that's one of the reasons why the work that we do is so important, about identifying what the problems are and making sure the people who run these services actually sort them out, because these are people's homes. They've chosen to live there.
If your mother was in one of these places which is described as not being safe, what would you think? Would you want to take her out?
Well, I would be kind of looking at what the home was doing in response to the issues that the C.Q.C had raised. And one of the things that we have seen in our inspections is that a lot of services have improved. The majority of them did improve after we'd said that they were inadequate. But we have had to take action in some of those services, which has either restricted new people coming in.
You're saying about look at what the C.Q.C is saying and sort of pointing obviously to where it's working well. But if what you're saying is it's not safe, it's pretty clear, isn't it, to someone who's got their loved one in an environment where you are saying it's not safe.
And what we need to be doing is making sure that people put those things right. And
yeah, but in the here and now,
and
it's
in
not
the here
safe.
And now, it is not safe. But what we have been able to do is to identify for people what they should be doing to put it right, particularly around staffing, making sure they've got the right numbers of staff available to look after people. And I think
I want to bring in our other guests, but I mean, just on this point, these are things that have been talked about for a very long time. Things are not put right in many cases. We're hearing in your report that in some cases places have got worse rather than getting better. So can there be any expectation that actually things will change and change quickly anyway, especially as a result of this?
What we need to be doing is making sure that everybody in the adult social care sector steps up to the plate to do the right things.
But what's to force them?
So yes, there is what we're doing in terms of shining the spotlight, identifying the poor care, taking action with people when we need to make sure that they make those improvements.
What action? What forces someone to change?
So the action that we can take is a variety of different things. but it includes cancelling their registration, which may mean that they have to close down.
OK, let's go to Jo, because Jo, your daughter has a condition which means that she needs 24-hour care. Do you have faith in the care she gets?
Well, the vast majority of care that is delivered to Sarah is actually delivered by myself. I'm responsible for most of her daily care, and the reason that I am doing that is because it's been impossible for me to get reliable, well-trained day care in order to deliver that care to Sarah instead of me. Now, I hear what the previous guest was saying about what's happening in terms of care, right? But to be quite honest, this extends right the way across all care, and care being delivered in homes as well. And every minute that a person is receiving poor care is a minute that person will never get back. And that person is highly vulnerable, is sick. They need to experience the best quality of life that is possible for that person to experience for every minute of the life that they have remaining. And to say that they're working hard to put things right is fine, but we need them right now. We don't need them right in the future. And the reason that Sarah is at home and that I am looking after Sarah is because I believe that she is entitled to the best quality care. And if the only way that I can ensure that that happens is to deliver it myself, that's what I am going to do. And it looks like that's what I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future.
And the fact, sorry, I mean, you obviously that puts a huge burden on you when your daughter does need 24-hour care. Were there specific instances that made you so worried? Specific things that happened in the treatment around your daughter that made you start to do this?
The first main reason, I guess, is the fact that it's totally unreliable. When you're dealing with individuals who have very complex problems, it's really important that the care staff that work with them are trained in delivery of care to that particular person. So in addition to all of the experience and the knowledge and the training that they have in general around caring, they need to know how that individual person responds to the way that they're handled, to the things that they are given, to how their digestive system works, and the whole
so
9 yards.
You need people that really know the person that they're looking after, and they can have that continuity.
I can't have those people in the house on a regular basis if people are off sick or people leave.
Totally understood. I want to bring in, actually, Jo, thank you. I want to bring in Eileen, because Eileen, you were a carer, you turned whistleblower, and you now set up Compassion in Care.
Yeah.
When you hear what the C.Q.C are saying today about the situation
but I've heard
and
so
whether
many
things
times,
are okay, so
I think I've lost count. Firstly, most of the complaints that we get from relatives are about care homes that are rated good, and they've raised the concerns with the C.Q.C and nothing's been done, and then they come to us. That's the biggest indictment. The second biggest indictment is whistleblowers who risk their job to speak out about bad care. Whistleblowers who care, good staff, are not wanted in the care system. And to be quite honest, we have 47 cases where whistleblowers' identities has been given to the employer by C.Q.C inspectors. And I think that is horrendous, a horrendous betrayal of trust, and totally unacceptable. So what I'd say is I can only comment on our evidence, which is up on the Compassion in Care website. I urge people to please read it. We've been gathering evidence from hundreds, thousands of people, since we began. Yeah. And my view is that it's not a question about how much we're putting into the care system in money. It's about who we are paying. And are those people fit to be running the care sector? And I think that is the question that should be asked, but governments are honing in on, we need to give the care sector more money. Basically, you're not dealing with the problem. The problem is, who are we paying for this care, and are they people that should be registered? And we've seen providers re-registered and re-registered, even though they've got appalling histories. Okay, not one or two, but hundreds.
Lots and lots of points that you're making there, and Andrea, in the report, it's identified that 22% of leaders in this sector, you know, there are issues around them. Just wanted to pick up as well on what Eileen was saying there about whistleblowers and whether you do actually get a really clear picture on how whistleblowers are treated, because actually, coincidentally, this programme spoke to 3 individuals yesterday who have relatives currently living in care homes. They are concerned about the care they're receiving, including things like relatives being left unfed, the unexplained cuts and bruises, medical treatment not being administered properly, the things that you have outlined. They were too afraid to come on this programme because they were worried that there could be repercussions. Treatment around the relative could get worse. They could be banned from seeing them. We've heard of that happening before. Where people are complaining about treatment and blowing the whistle on abuse, what are you doing to investigate and to protect the people in the home and the people who are blowing the whistle?
We take our responsibilities around that very, very seriously, because we can't be there all of the time, and it is very important to us to get that information from people who are visiting, using those services, or indeed working in those services. And we will protect their confidentiality, but we need to go in and we need to check that, and we need to find out what is happening and make sure that the providers are putting that right.
OK, let's bring in Nigel. You are a carer. We've been hearing sort of, you know, what is the problem here, whether it's resourcing, whether it's leadership. I mean, the fact is, it's not going right in lots of cases. What's your experience and what would you put it down to?
Good morning. I can only talk on personal experiences, but I feel the continuity of care is, I think, is at risk due to the poor pay. As a carer myself, I accepted the pay when I started the job, but it is so poor. We're on minimum wage, and people just don't stay anymore. They come in the job thinking it's going to be easy, and it actually isn't. As the lady stated earlier, that everybody's got individual needs, and it takes training, and it takes a while. You have to be there a while to build up a relationship with people. And unfortunately, I feel, due to the poor pay, that people aren't staying.
You have stayed. I mean, you've been doing it for what, eight years? Why have
8 years now.
So
yeah.
why have you stayed so long? How do you find the work?
I enjoy the work. I love the work. My kind of opinion is, when you take the job, you know how much you're getting paid. So you either take it or you don't. So why would you take it if you're not happy with the money when you start?
Could I just chip in? And there's a very good point there as well. But many whistleblowers, which I'm talking about staff when I say whistleblowers, many staff who really care, and, you know, basically they're working alongside staff who don't care. And there's no difference made in how they're treated. Also is the fact that, you know, we need to take back responsibility for the care sector. It's no good to keep saying these places are bad and next year, these places are bad next year and the year after and 20 years from now. And really, that's why I've been doing this campaigning for 18 years. And every year for 18 years, I've heard the same promises and the same findings. And isn't it awful that this is happening? Isn't it time we stopped talking about it and did something about it? And that's what I challenge the government to do.
Andrea, what would you like the government to do?
So I think that, you know, everybody that's talking about this today, we all want the same thing. We want people